everybody, welcome back to another Minecraft tutorial video with Boomer. Everybody's been worried, I guess, in the community since 1.14 was announced that iron golem farms were taking a huge nerf, and that was the end of iron, and oh my gosh, what do we do? Well, the community rose up and said we're not going to let that happen. We're going to come up with some solutions. Now, I myself, along with a lot of other people, not just in the regular player community, but even the scientific community of Minecraft, have been working really hard to try to come up with solutions. Since probably, one of the snapshots, I started coming up with designs, watching what other people were doing, and we finally came to the conclusion, I think, that the keys to a successful iron golem farm are simply going to be the number of villagers, valid workstations, and then spawning spots. Now, I watched a few videos this week of a couple other players who have been working on it. I'll just kind of drop some names here. So one of them was Hex Regulus, and I think he was probably the closest to getting on track to really maximizing the potential for iron golem farms. And what he had done is similar to what you see up here, but he had done one strip from left to right with villagers and 2 water channels. And I think of all the ones that I downloaded, his was probably closest to what he claimed he was getting for iron production. I believe he said he was getting around 1,000, and when I built it, I got pretty close to those numbers. I didn't quite ever get over 1,000, but I got close. And so I started playing around with his a little bit, and there was another one out there, I believe it's Blenscraft, and I apologize if I got the name wrong, where he kind of had something similar to mine, where he did 2 villager channels here and 1 water channel. Now, the most I could ever get on his design was 974 in 1 hour, which compared to the standard Doc M77 or JL2579 iron golem farms, we were excited when those were getting 50 an hour, 60 on a good day. And so it's actually become very obvious to anyone and everyone who's paid any attention to these pre-releases that the iron golem farms that are going to be in 1.14 are going to far outweigh anything that we had in terms of a standard farm. Now, will we reach the capacity and potential output of, say, the Iron Titan or any of Tango or some of the other farms that are out there? Who knows? But right now, I'm very excited to see some of the things that are coming along. So I started looking at both of these guys' farms in addition to what I had put together, and I came up with playing around with Hex Regulus's. He had one essentially 200 long villager channel. I'm going to call him a channel for what you see on the screen going from left to right. And he had the 2 water spots going on, and he was getting around 1,000. I thought, okay, that's pretty good. But then I started playing around with this, and then I started taking, like I said, Bladecraft and Blenscraft, in mine, and kind of put the 3 together, and this is what I saw out of this. So when I had 2 channels of of villagers, and then I started with just 1 water channel, what we found out was that limited the potential number of spawning spots, valid spawn points. So what I did is I took Blenscraft and I added a second water channel, and I went from roughly 800 iron ingots per hour. It shot up to about 1,020 by adding a second water channel. What that did was that increased the number of valid spawning locations. I said, well, if I got that much, what if I put in a 3rd water channel? So I came up with essentially a slightly different version of what you're seeing here, a little bit different. I had to toy around with a few of the mechanics, but when I got the 3rd water channel in, I was hitting, my highest peak was 1,374 ingots per hour. My lowest was, I believe, was around 980. It's been consistent between 1,150 and 1,250 ingots per hour with this. Now, again, I've been running this or variations of this nonstop now for probably about 5 or 6 days, trying to find out what's causing issues, what increased capacity, what decreased it. One of the things I was able to eliminate relatively quickly was, does the farm have to be placed facing north and south or east to west? I have almost an identical version of this running on a another world, and it's facing the opposite direction. So let me turn on F3. So for example, this farm is running east to west. I have another one that's running north and south, and they're both producing on their peak over 1,300 ingots per hour. So that didn't have anything to do with it. I did another version where, as you can see, the water channels are 7 blocks wide. And the reason they're 7 is to allow enough room for the golems to spawn, since they spawn up to 8 blocks away from the villager who's calling for an iron golem to be spawned. I tried thinking, okay, well, there was the room where their workstation was, and then a block of iron with glass on top of it. If they can only spawn 6 more, I did the water channel with 6, and it dropped the capacity. Because the iron golem isn't a 1-by-1 mob, what was happening is they were actually being stopped from spawning because they would have spawned inside a solid block. So I had to bring it back out to 7. That got my capacity back up. Now, I had also tried doing something a little bit different with this. And I believe it's Hex Regulus's video. He had a pretty cool way of funneling the water out. He started from one side, and every 7 blocks dropped the water channel. So eventually, by the time the iron golems got to the bottom, they were 5 or 6 blocks below the villagers, and he had a central killing area in the middle, which was great. What I started seeing happen was that he was losing efficiency because of how long it took the iron golems who spawn on the far end to work their way down literally through over 50 blocks. One of the game mechanics, and we're going to go through some of the game mechanics because there's a lot of mistruths or false truths out there about how the iron golem and the village mechanics actually work. We'll start with the basics. First of all, you have to have 5 villagers. That much Mojang has come out and said. It used to be 10. In order for a iron golem to spawn, the villager has to gossip. Now, let's clear up when gossip actually occurs. Gossip happens at 9,000 ticks through 12,000 ticks during the game. So essentially, the last 3 hours of the daytime schedule of a villager is when gossiping occurs. There's a 24-hour schedule in-game or a 24,000 tick schedule. And what will happen is between 9,000 and 12,000, the villagers start talking, and there are 6 different pieces of information they can share. The only one we're going to address is the need to spawn an iron golem. Between 9,000 and 12,000 ticks, there's essentially really 3 minutes where iron golems can spawn. So starting at 9,000, once a villager has had 5 communications with another villager about the need for an iron golem, that will spawn. 60 seconds later, the game will check to see, do we still need an iron golem to spawn? Now, clearly you've seen on this has been going by, and times there's been more than 1 or 2 iron golems on the screen. Another mechanic is that you can have 1 iron golem in a village for every 10 villagers. So in theory, I could have, as you can see right now, a bunch are spawning. I could have up to 20 iron golems in this valid village currently walking through this water down to their death in the fire. When Hex Regulus designed, it was taking over 60 seconds for the iron golems to meet their death in the fire. So what was that doing was it was reducing the maximum number of villagers that could spawn in any given moment. So I'm going to pause real quick. I'm going to load up how the actual formula works that I've been able to figure out by getting information from Mojang, as well as obvious game observations. I'm going to put this up on a screen and talk about this for a little bit. All right, so let's look at this formula that works no matter what the size of the farm is. To determine what's the number of iron golems that you can spawn maximum per hour per day, however you want to look at it. Take the number of villagers you have in your farm. So the farm that I've been showing you so far has 200 villagers in it. I'm going to divide that by 10 because you are allowed to have 1 iron golem for every 10 villagers on the farm. So this means the maximum number of iron golems I can have in a 200 villager farm is going to be 20. You're going to multiply 20 by 5. Why 5, you say? Well, let's look at a cycle in the life of a villager. When the time clock starts over each day and you're at 0, the game will attempt to spawn any iron golems that the villagers deem necessary. Another minute will go by, which is 1,200 ticks, so sometime after 1,200 and before 2,000, it'll do that again. So there's 2. From 2,000 to 9,000 ticks, the villagers are simply working. They are not gossiping, like other people have said. They do not gossip during that time frame. They only gossip from 9,000 to 12,000, and that's when iron golems will spawn again. So you will have distinct gaps when your farm is not producing iron golems. It is okay. It's supposed to happen that way. So from 2,000 to 9,000 are doing nothing. At 9,000, they start their gossiping. Now, you can put a bell in your farm if you want. You'll notice mine does not have a bell, but they all manage somehow to communicate and talk with each other. They will start at 9,000, and then again at 10,200, starting again, the game will check to see, do I need to spawn more? And then after 11,400, it'll do it again. So 3 distinct times, but that doesn't mean that at 9,000, every single iron golem will spawn from every single villager who's over 5 conversations with another villager about an iron golem missing. So keep that in mind. You won't see 20 spawn at 9 o'clock and 20 spawn at 10,200 and 20 spawn at 11,400. It won't quite go like that. First of all, not every villager will be at that exact number at that exact moment. It's once they've had that conversation. So some may spawn an iron golem for the first time at 11,999. Okay. So those will be the 5 times theoretically you can get. So in a maximum scenario, that could be 100 iron golems, 1 day in the game, or 20 minutes in real life. So that will happen 3 more times, essentially, or 3 times total per hour. So you can spawn up to 300 golems per hour, and if your average ingot drop is 4, because you get between 3 and 5, an average would be about 1,200 ingots per hour, which is pretty close to where I've been running. Now, I have had some show up a little bit higher. I've had, like I said, I think it was 1,374. So in that case, my average golem was dropping somewhere in the neighborhood of around 4.4, 4.5 iron per drop, which is incredible. That's probably some of the highest you're going to get. So again, keep in mind, this is having the maximum number of spawning locations as well as the gossip levels from the villagers being right where they're going to be. I've also had times where the spawn rates were significantly lower, or the drop was lower simply because my iron golems weren't dropping 4 iron, some of them were dropping 3 quite significantly. So let's get back to the build and let's talk more about how we put it together and what you need to do from there. Okay, it says, as you can see on the screen, I set the time to 23,000. I kind of just wanted you to see what happens when the villagers wake up. So let's kind of talk about this just a little bit more. So in approximately just a few seconds here, you're going to see all the villagers wake up and they're going to start moving and iron golems are going to spawn. Now, you can't see all the villagers. They're in sleep. Don't worry. They're all there. It's okay. They haven't disappeared. But any moment now, they should be coming up. So let's just kind of take a look and see where we're at here. Whoops, I didn't mean game time. Let's try that again. We want daytime. Okay, 23:09:11. So the day is about to reset in about 2 seconds. And as we see, they all wake up. Look what happened. Iron golems started to spawn. If I'm counting right, there's about 15 or 16 on the screen right now. That's not bad. To have that many villagers calling for iron golems, I think that's a great start. So again, there'll be one more set of iron golems that are going to spawn once we hit 1,200. After that time frame, you will start to see them spawn there. We just got another one that just spawned. So they're not all going to be immediate, but in that first 1,200 ticks or 1 minute, about the most that you're going to see are 20 iron golems, at least with this size of a farm. So let's kind of take a look at what time it is again. So it's 8:49. So we've got roughly another 15 to 20 seconds, and then we're going to see a whole bunch more come up on the screen. So let's give it just a few more seconds here. We'll check the game time and see just how close is this crazy boomer to being actually right. 11:65. Ready? Here we go. Look at that. They actually listened on time, and they're spawning. 4, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. I'm seeing about 14 again. A couple more just came in. Now, you wonder, you see some of the iron golems taking damage. So let me give you just a few things. Right after the official release came out, I downloaded this when I started putting my worlds and building this. And within an hour, I had about a dozen iron golems spawn inside and on glass and inside solid blocks on beds. So I've submitted a bug report for that, as well as 3 other bugs I found. Mojang had duplicates on 2 of the 4 I'd found, and the other 2 were very unique, including villagers asexually reproducing. Yes, they were reproducing without another villager. So I'm a little shocked that the final version of 1.14 came out. And if I found that many bugs, I wonder just how many of them are actually out there. I know, listen to Zoomovoid from Hermitcraft, they actually held off updating Hermitcraft until a few more issues might have been resolved, and there's a lot of people betting 1.14.1 will be out shortly. So just hang tight. If you have that happen, what I've seen happen is that the villagers, the iron golems may take a little bit longer to get out of the walls and go through the water, but I have not had any of them that did not at least get out and get into the killing chamber. So while we've been talking now, as you can see, the time is past 2,000. This can go on and on. Until we hit 9,000, we will not see another iron golem spawn. So let's do this. Let's get up close. Okay, ready? So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here comes the gossip. Now we've got more villagers. More iron golems. Boy, I keep messing these 2 up. So they're going to continue to do this. This cycle will repeat 2 more times. And then at 12,000, they're going to go to sleep for the whole day. So what I want to do is get into building this, showing you all the things I did and why. But before I do, I just want to talk about the killing chamber for a moment. A few different things I tried doing with this. I actually had the water going, like I took Hex Regulus' design, and instead of having 7 chambers of water that they were jumping down or literally flowing down, I had split this down the middle and I had them going both ways. But what that meant was then I had 6 killing chambers, 3 on either side of this farm. No big deal. I can hopper them all together, or I could have used a water stream. But I said, let's see what happens if I can get them into one and get the iron golems killed within 60 seconds. And so far, I have not had an iron golem that has not died before the start of the next minute. So, hey, this is a pretty fruitful cycle. So with 1 chamber, I was fine. Now, does it need to be 6 wide in the middle? No. Initially, I started with 2, and the problem is golems made to turn around a corner to head towards the fire or towards the lava. They would actually bang up against each other and get stuck a little bit. So then I went to 4 wide, and at 4 wide, I would still have some reduction of speed. Now, it was a lot faster than 2 wide, but it was some. So I've tried to reduce it, because what would happen is they fell. Golems were 2 wide, they hit each other, the space was 4, they would barely fall in, and sometimes they would bounce off each other and hang for a minute. I wanted to get them as quickly as I could, so I went to 6. Now, just some things here again. Whatever works for you is great. If you want to do 1 in the center, if you want to do 2 on the sides, like Hex Regulus did, if you want to do 6 on us, 3 on each side, a total of 6 like I first did, that's great. It's okay. Set the farm up for the way you want it. And again, when you talk about even item collection and we come down here, this was done simply just to show you what was going through. All right. So as you can see, this is on a day and a half of iron. I'd say that's pretty darn good. All I did is I put the hoppers together, had them come into a simple system. If you want to move them, like I said, through water, through whatever great system you've got, you want to put them in shulker boxes. I love that system. Find what works best for you, and that's what you can do. What I'm going to show you today is how to build what I've put together. You feel free to modify it any way, shape, or form. And if you can find a way to get over 1,400 ingots per hour with the 200 villagers I've pulled, I'd love to hear about it. What I've found out, no matter who's been the designer of the farm, no matter what blocks you've used, no matter what way you place it, 99% of this Iron Golem farm building has nothing to do with game mechanics. Okay, the color of the blocks you use, the way you have them kill, as long as they die within 60 seconds, doesn't matter. So there are a lot of great farm designs out there. Okay, so far as of today, being April 27th, 2019, I have yet to find a farm. Like I said, I had 1374 was my highest hour. I haven't had another farm beat that yet. I'm hoping to find somebody who can, because as much as I like this design, at some point Tango came up with the Iron Titan and blew that out of the water. So if there's another way to do this without causing my computer to stop running at FPS, I mean, even facing down, I'm at 15. Imagine what it was back up on top. Okay, so beat this. That's my challenge. The community gets better and better when we challenge each other to get better. So I'm going to flip over here. We're going to build this from scratch. I'll be right back with you. Let's start building this thing. So we're going to do 6 double chests. Again, whatever works for you. I'm just going to start with 6 double just to build what I had showed you. We need a hopper here. Not quite sure why I had to stare, but everything that you see in my inventory essentially is what we're going to need to build this thing. There shouldn't be anything extra, although it could be if I forgot something. So please don't beat me up too bad if that's the case. Now, the farm is going to be 7 wide on one side, 6 on the other. So we're going to go down the middle as the 7 wide. Essentially, this becomes the center chamber where the iron golems will flow down. The 6 wide being the side chamber, that will be where they come in from the left and right sides. So we're just going to swing back around. Now, something funny, the more I talk to people who play Minecraft, I do something different that most people don't. I don't play with a mouse. I play on my laptop, and I don't use the AWSD keys. I use the arrow keys, and I use my trackpad. A lot of people think it's kind of odd and weird, and how did I get started with that? And I really don't know how I got started with it, but I've grown accustomed to it and comfortable with it, and I don't think too much about it at this point. So let's go ahead and seal this in. But it is something that's, it does hinder things. For example, I don't play a lot of PvP. For one, that's not my thing. I don't like, running around and, killing people for the fun of it. Not only that, I suck at it, to be quite honest with you. And I think part of it is because I don't use a mouse. And so for me to swing around fast enough and see what's going on is kind of a hard thing to do. But we're going to need a stair here just for kicks and giggles for this. But it's not something, like I said, that I've rarely ever gotten into. So I've just gotten used to playing on my keyboard. And, it's worked pretty good for me. So we're going to go 3 high all the, whoops, how did I do that? We're going to go 3 high all the way around. And what this is going to do is help us set the lava in place. So when you're killing iron golems, you want the lava to always be on their head. If it's down at their feet or even on their chest level, there is a good chance that when the golem dies and they drop the iron, that it could incinerate within the lava. Why do I think I just missed a whole bunch here? Let's take a look. Yeah, that's the problem with doing that going backwards. You tend to miss pieces. We'll just finish this up here manually. And now this is where we'll use the stair simply to let that chest open. Right? Get in there. All right. Now we need to place the signs at, which is your head level or essentially their chest level. Now, most people, when they place signs, they have to come down here and click done. I'm not sure if anybody's aware, when you right click and you place a sign, you can simply hit the escape button, and that will get you out of that as well without having to stop and hit done. We're going to place these signs by holding shift. This allows the signs to be placed back to back. I'm assuming everybody knows that. I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence when it comes to playing the game. I just want to explain things in case there are some new people who aren't, long-term veterans of the game who may not know some of these things. So please don't take it as I'm trying to insult your intelligence, because that's not the case. I know there are people that have been playing this a lot longer than me and are probably much better builders, and clearly just about everybody, including my 2 kids, can beat me at PvP. So all that's great. I just, like I said, when you play on multiplayer servers, you do run into a lot of people who are new to the game, and you'll get somebody in chat that asks, what do you mean? How do you not know what a warp is? Or how do you not know how to make a cobblestone generator? And my comment back to them is, well, think about the very first time you played the game. You didn't know squat about this. So, be nice to new players, because they're the future of the game as well. They're the guys that are going to be building the newest farms after this. And, I really love playing on multiplayer servers, and you get to meet a lot of new people and learn a lot about other cultures. We have friends, my family has friends on a lot of servers a lot of people we've met on a server from across the whole world. We have friends from Australia, from England, you name it, just about every country. Real quick, getting back to the build. So when I place the lava, I just evenly space it out just to give it enough to cover every spot as the golems fall through. Now, if I were to build the platform right here and have that be where the golems were to fall into the lava, there's a high probability that as they hit the lava, they're not going to sink, or they're going to sink very slowly, and what will happen is you'll lose the drops. So looking at the 7 wide side, if you take a look, this is the 7 wide, which means golems will be coming directly into this pit. We're going to take this side 4 high, okay? And what that's going to do is, because coming from the other side, it's only going to be 2 high. That will still, 2 high is still enough for their weight to actually force them through the lobby to get it down to their head. We're doing this one 4 high because we have to allow room for that side water channel. So if I were to try to do them both at the same height, we would have problems where we couldn't get this whole thing in. So this side will actually be 2 high. And then we'll come back to the other side, and this one becomes 4 high. So as you can see, this is kind of where all the golems will just fall right into, and you can see how the channels are kind of working themselves out to get all this in here. So there's a couple more, and we'll come back around here. So getting back to the multiplayer, yeah, let's carry on a side conversation. You know, it is really cool, and with the advent of 1.13 and 1.14, you know, a lot of people say Minecraft is dead, and you know, I'd say, phooey to you. Clearly it's not. Clearly the game is actually growing. You know, some of the servers are reaching all-time popularity highs. Searches are well above any other game. And supposedly now, I have not been able to verify this, but even talking with this guy 85 on one of his, watching one of his videos, supposedly the most logged into game in 2018 was Minecraft. So, you know, take that for what it is. It's secondhand conversation coming from Iskall, but given Iskall and his reputation where it comes in a community, I tend to believe him. So let's start building this. Now this is going to come out a total of 27 blocks, including the first wall spot that we placed. We're going to cheat a little bit here just to save a little bit of time. We're going to use the fill command since we're in creative. Whoops, overshot this a little bit. Okay, so we're going to have essentially what becomes a 27 by 9 block. We're going to repeat this wing on the other side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we go from here all the way back. Whoops, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And what we'll do to save some time is I'll either clone or I'll just go, I'll take some of the time out here so you don't have to see all this. But you get the idea. You know, if you were building this in a single player or survival world, yeah, it's going to take you a little bit longer. And that's okay. I just want to show you how this all comes together. So there's the first channel, as you can see. Now going down, one of the things we have to be careful of is to not have the spawning platform be above the beds. You actually want the spawning platform, the block that the spawning platform will have water running over, to be the same block or lower than a block we're initially going to place the beds onto. If they are too far above it, golems won't actually spawn. There's I believe it was Hex Regulus, and forgive me if it wasn't, if it was Blunscraft, but had mentioned that they get up to 6 blocks below the feet of the villager for iron golems to spawn. I don't believe they can go above. So we do have to be kind of careful that this platform does not go above where we're going to put the platform for the beds. Now we're going to take this an extra 3 blocks high going all the way around. So I'm on 2, 3, and we're just going to do this little trick here. And we're going to take this all the way around. And this is going to form the first channel for the golems to be shuffled off to the lava pit. So this is what it should look like after you've got the sides all put together for the first water chamber. Give me a second. Let's do the other side real quick as well. And there you have it. So this is our first build that we're going to put in place. Now we're going to work up on setting the water chambers up so that villagers, the golems, can all be funneled right where we need them to go. Coming back into this chamber, this is where we're going to need some water. I knew I missed something in my inventory. let's start by just placing water all the way across. Now, if you're in single mold or single player survival, 2 buckets, you use the trick where you place one at the first, one at the third. The second becomes a source block. You can pick it up and keep placing. I'm assuming everybody knows that trick. One other thing we're going to put in here is just a little bit of light. Think, well, why do we need light? Believe it or not, because you're going to have one block that is going to be accessible, mobs can actually spawn there. So we want to prevent hostile mobs from spawning. The water will flow 8 blocks, and we're going to use the old sign trick. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the light on the corners just to minimize the possibility of the mob spawning on us. So by putting signs there, that essentially is almost the same as having a solid block wall behind us, because when we come and we place the next stream of water, you can see it doesn't knock over the signs, and here, we've come 8 more blocks. So let's do the same thing again, because we're going to have the potential for mobs to spawn. Just break both of those, and we'll place some more signs along the way so we can create one more barrier. And if I didn't screw this up, this water will run right to the edge and force the iron golems to fall into the lava. Perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. Let me do this on the other side, and I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, so as you can see, I've got the water in place. Now we're going to build the spawning platforms. I'm sorry, not the spawning platforms. We're going to build the, really the tunnels or the housing areas for the villagers. Like I said, we want to make sure that the spawning platforms are not higher than where the beds are going to be. This is going to be a temporary platform that we're going to remove. There is another bug, like I said earlier, where mobs can spawn either on a bed that has a solid block underneath it, or occasionally inside of glass, or I had carpets in this build initially, and I had iron golems spawning all over the place where they shouldn't have been. So we're actually going to build a temporary platform in which to put the beds on, to put the blocks for the villager, the workstation in, and then we're going to go back and we're going to clear it out. So we're going to come out a total of 7 blocks. The 7th one is going to be a wall that we're going to build up to match this. So we need 6 wide. 4 of them will be for 2 beds, and the other 2 will be for the workstations. So we're going to do one of those quick little cheats here just so you guys can see what this should be. Bingo. And we'll do iron blocks again. I just seem to like iron blocks. Thanks, Mumbo. I appreciate that. We're going to do the same thing again here. No, whoops. There we go. And iron block. Okay. We also want to build this up so that the villagers don't go for a walk and all of a sudden find themselves out in La La Land. Same thing on this end. Last thing we need to do is start losing villagers out of the Iron Golem farm, and one day we look up and they're all gone. So it does not matter what workstation you choose to use. I'm going to put the fletching table in, and it doesn't matter how you place it. Just place them down. I know some of the workstations will change appearance based on the direction you put them on. The fletching table clearly is not one of them, as you can see, and it doesn't matter. As long as the villager has got access to it, you're good to go. And then for beds, it does not matter which direction they're placed on as well. And you'll see as the villagers sleep, there are some glitches that are bed related as well, to where they'll sleep either on top of another villager or next to one or in the middle of 2 beds. Some their heads will be on the fletching table, some their heads will be on one bed and their feet on another bed. So clearly there's a few minor kinks which don't really come into play here, but we do need now to go underneath and remove this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the underground platform or underneath platform here. I want to make sure I have the right spot. And we're just going to fill that with air. So this is what we should see underneath. Now there is truly nowhere for an iron golem to spawn, because what happens is if they do get in here and you get stuck in there, there's no real way for you to remove them other than come up here and kill them. And if you're in a survival world, that might be a challenge. You definitely don't want to have to babysit this. One of the things we're going to do again to eliminate spawning spots, is we're going to cover the workstation with glass, because iron golems will spawn on top of the workstation. So we do not want that to happen. So we're simply just going to cover them all. Now, at the top of the iron blocks, I'm also going to cover that with glass, simply because right now, if a villager gets lucky, gets bumped up there somehow, they're up and over, and that's the end of them. So just for the purposes of this, I'm going to cover one, because I do want to put the villagers in next, just to kind of show you where we're at with this. And you guys, I do apologize if this video seems like it's taking too long. As you can see, this is only the 4th video I've ever made, but I really felt that it was important to clear up a lot of the misinformation that was out there in Iron Golem farms, but also explain to you the whys. Part of what I do in my real-world job is I'm a trainer, and to me it's very important that we always explain the why, so you understand how something works, because when you do, it helps to make sense. And I don't want to do something just to do it, and then if something happens that you break something and you don't understand what it was there for, you don't know how to fix it. So we're going to go back, and we're simply going to place a villager here in every one of these workstations. And what you're going to start to see is that they are taking on the workstation as their profession. So the fletching table, guess what we have? We have a bunch of fletchers. And I'm placing 50 in each one of these tunnels, or little sections. He's in my way. I'm going to go up here. So what they're going to do is they're going to claim a workstation, and they're going to claim a bed. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one more in here. 25. Okay. You don't want the babies. So if I'm looking at this, all 50 of the villagers I've placed should have in this case, the fletching uniform. And that, assuming I do, that means good. Everybody's got a bed assigned, and everybody's got a workstation assigned. So that's great. We're going to have to do this a total of 3 more times. So we're going to put 1 on that side, and we're going to put 2 more over there. When I get that done, I'll come back. We'll walk you through the last 2 water channels, and then we'll start firing up this baby and see what happens. All right, guys, so we're back here, and as you can see, we've got 200 villagers in place. It's nighttime, so they're all sleeping, and we've got the 1 water channel. So this essentially is what Lenscraft TV had put together. But again, because there's only so many limited spawning spaces, we wanted to increase the efficiency of this. So what we need to do now is add those same water channel that you see in the middle. We need to add it to both sides of the all 4 remaining sides need to be added in across the villagers. And then we need to put the 1 water channel funneling it all towards the middle. So I'm going to take a second. I'm going to get those water channels put in place. Again, they are 7 blocks wide. Anything less than 7 reduces the valid spawning spaces. And I found anything at 8 or above really just becomes useless and wasted material, space, and time. So 7 is sufficient. If you'd like more, feel free, but all you really need is 7. So I'll be right back, and then I'll walk you through how to put the center water channel in. All right, everybody, so we're back now. You can see all the water chambers are in. We've got our 200 villagers in. And while I was building this, I actually had a couple of iron golems spawn, because I did have enough villagers who had been there long enough to start to gossip. Now, at this point, we'll collect the iron golems from the middle, but we've got to design the water chambers in order to get the golems into this section. One of the things I would advise you do is build backwards in this case. Don't go to the line and try to build it forward, because if you misplace the water, you don't have the right signs in the right spot, what you're actually going to do is really cause your lava to become obsidian and cobblestone, and we don't want that. So to start with, we're just going to fill these in 2 blocks. And I apologize, I am lagging simply just because of all this water, all these villagers. It is slowing my computer down. Hopefully at least it looks okay and you can see what I'm doing. It's just taking me a little bit longer to get it filled in. So we're going to clean this back to 8. Or I'm sorry, we're going to go 9 blocks back to start with. And by doing that, it's going to let me place the water and the signs for this section. So we're just going to continue to fill this in. And if we have an iron golem drop in on us, hey, that's great. We'll say hi, talk to it for a minute while it falls. And I imagine it's really, I'm going to have one thing to say on the way down, and it's going to be, ah! But anyways, oops. Again, I apologize for the lag here. I'm wondering what my FPS is, but it might kill my computer just to hit F3. So let's just keep building this out. And again, remember, we want the golems to drop at least 2 blocks so that weight over here. Hey, guess what? It's time. What's he doing? Oh, we're going to have to go kill him and him. Darn. All right, how many we got? 5, 6, 7. How far out do we have to go for the first water source? There's our 9. And again, I was trying to build this clean, so that's why you see some of the blocks going under the wall that, don't really do much. From the outside, it's just a matter of building clean. I don't know about you. I don't like to go back and have to fix builds after I've already done it. Remember what I said, too, when we put signs, we want to have some light because we want to stop the mobs from spawning. So here we're going to put another layer of signs. We filled this layer out at 9 because that's spot 1. Spots 2 through 9 are going to be water. Doing the same thing again, taking them right up to the lava. How do you like that? I did that on camera and didn't blow up anything yet. Now the day is early. We'll see what happens. Okay, now we're going to continue to take this out all the way to the edge of the farm. And this is going to be our second water source. You know, I wonder how many of those guys are down there. We'll just probably have to do a kill all command, as I don't think you want to see me chase a bunch of iron golems around with a sword and have to kill them all off so we can restart this farm. Look at that. We got somebody else in there. I know Scar has good times with Scar. If you watch him on Hermitcraft, I'd highly suggest you subscribe to him if you haven't. But in this case, we have an iron golem stopping in, similar to Bob the building inspector, and said this is a whole other friend of his, I guess, that's coming in to check out our handiwork. Let's see how we're doing here. We'll go ahead and take this all the way up. And again, we'll put glass on top because we don't want anyone or anything spawning up here. All right, so that takes care of the side. So now we're just going to put in one more set of water. We don't need any signs here. So the golems will come down either side, fall right into that chamber, and boom. We're going to repeat this on the other side, and then we'll go through the finishing touches. I'll be back in. All right, everybody, so there you have it. This iron golem farm is built. And so your thinking is, well, when it becomes daytime, we're going to see millions of golems, right? Let's do that. Let's just time and let's set it to the next day. So we should see millions of golems. Well, wait a minute. One lousy iron golem? So let's get some misconceptions cleared out again here. Again, the villagers need time to gossip. So if this is day 1 for all of them, except for one of these segments that I had built to start with, we're not going to see a whole lot of golems. This farm takes time to start. So if you are in a creative world or you have access to the time command, if you're in a survival world, forget it. You're just going to have to wait 3 or 4 days for the farm to fully get up and running and operational. You want to make sure the farm is loaded between 9,000 and 12,000, or between 9,000 and 12,000 ticks in a survival world, in a single player world, so that the golems get a chance to gossip. That's what they need more than anything else. If you are in creative, or if you have, like I said, access to the time command, here's what I would recommend you do. Time set 9,000. Actually, I do it just a little bit beforehand just to make sure. I'll do 8,900. And what we want to do is get the golems to start to talk. Sorry, not the golems, the villagers. We want to get the villagers to start talking. Now, you notice they are moving around and they're starting to form little clusters. Again, if you want to put the bells in, go right ahead. Now, actually, while I was building this, a whole day did pass. So a few of these villagers have reached their 5 gossip points, and that's why you're seeing a few golems start to spawn. What we're going to do then, again, if you are in creative mode or you have access to for the time command, we want to get it past 12,000. So let's see just where are we in this particular day. We're at 9473. It's going to take about another 2 minutes. Once we get past the 12,000 command, we want them to sleep. And it needs to be for 5 seconds. So roughly 12,100, that'll be their 5 seconds. I'm going to say at that point, put it back to time 8,900. Let it run through about 12,100 again, 12,200. Make sure they all hit their beds. And it may be a few seconds longer than that. But once they've all gotten in their beds, let them sleep for a couple seconds. Get back to that timestamp of 8,900. They'll have had 3 or 4 days to actually start their gossiping process. Once that's happened, you're going to start to see mass amounts of iron golems start to spawn. So keep in mind, again, this farm will take a few days to get up and running, few Minecraft days to get up and running. So realistically, you finish building a farm, park yourself in the middle of this, go AFK for about an hour and a half, come back. You should start to see a fair amount of iron spawn every hour. Now, one other thing I noticed, when you save your world and close it, when you come back the very first day, you're really not going to get a whole lot of golems spawning. It needs one more Minecraft day to get back up and running, maybe a day and a half. By then, you're back up to normal iron production. I don't know why. I've put in a bug report to Mojang to ask why is the gossip or why is that process resetting itself to where it takes another day before golems will start to spawn again. Okay, so let's just kind of see where are we at time-wise. We're at 11.216. We'll let them talk a little bit. I'll reset it, and I'll bet you at the end of this cycle, we're going to see more iron than we know what to do with. So we are still getting some golems simply because of the amount of time it took to build all this and get them talking. Guys, I'm so thankful you took the time to watch. If you have any questions, please ask them. I will do my best to get back to you as quickly as I can. Like and subscribe if you found something useful. And again, community, I challenge you. I want to see you do better. Let's find somebody who can guarantee setting 1,500 gold iron ingots per hour. Maybe somebody can even get 2,000. Here's a challenge. You got to do it with 200 villagers or less. Because we know, again, you can see my FPS. I'm at 5. You can't play Minecraft at 5 FPS. Let's find a way to continue to make these iron farms go bigger, better, faster, with more iron, with causing less lag in this game. I thank you so much. This is Boomer. We'll talk to you later.